What is it like to be on both sides of the IEP table? Today, we had an amazing conversation with Ryan Hogan. He is a school psychologist based in Fort Worth, Texas, and he is also the proud parent of a 14-year-old son with profound autism. And this experience has significantly shaped his perspective as both a professional and a father. Today on the podcast, you're going to learn all about Ryan's parenting journey. You're also going to learn about his journey with social media. He has a very, very funny social media called World's Okayest School Psych. I love to laugh, and I try to be funny on Instagram. I don't know if I've made you laugh. I hope so. But Instagram can be a kind of a dark place for me as an SLP BCBA who shares about applied behavior analysis. I don't always get the friendliest comments. I mean, sometimes I do, but sometimes I don't. And Ryan said he does not let that bother him. Sometimes he has had a really positive experience on Instagram, and he's going to share all about that. So if you want to learn more about his parenting journey and his journey with social media, this is just a really wonderful conversation, and I cannot wait for you to listen to it. I'm Rose Griffin, a speech therapist, board-certified behavior analyst, and founder of ABA Speech. It wasn't all that long ago that I felt overwhelmed by providing therapy for my autistic students and any students who were not yet speaking. Fast forward through many doubts, tears, research, and courses, and you will see the framework that I use today and share with over 60,000 readers weekly. One that will help you support your students and feel more confident in the process. I created the ABA Speech podcast to give you simple, step-by-step strategies to help you reach all of your students wherever they are on their communication journeys. If you're a speech therapist, BCBA, RBT student, or parent who's looking to help all students develop a way to communicate with the world, you are in the right place, friend. Let's get started. Welcome to the show. We have Ryan Hogan with us today. Thanks so much, Ryan, for coming on to the show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And I talk about social media a lot here because, it's a big part of my life. Even though I put myself on a social media behavior plan, it's not going well. So I do spend a lot of time on Instagram, and I feel like you're new on the Instagram scene. But every time you post something, it just makes me laugh because I'm either thinking it or, I want to say it out loud. So thank you for being candid on social media.
Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit too brave. I'm still a practicing school psychologist, so
Yes.
but I've only been called into my boss's office once, so I think I'm doing okay.
You are
Yeah.
doing good. So starting with like the professional stuff, how did you know that you wanted to be a school psychologist?
I didn't exactly know I wanted to be a school psychologist. Something in line with working with kids. Being a teacher never interested me. But I grew up with a stepsister that has Down syndrome. So I grew up around her and her friends and, go to like her birthday parties and see them and then sit with them at lunch sometimes at school. Just spent a lot of time around them. So I really liked working with children, especially children with special needs. And then when I went to college, I started majoring in psychology, but I really didn't know what direction I wanted to go in, because that's so vague. So I just, had a meeting with my, what do you call it? Academic advisor or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he's like, so you like working in the, you want to do like the child psychology field or whatever. I'm like, yeah. He's like, do you like having summers off? I'm like, well, that would sound great. It's like, okay, school psychology. So I looked into it, and then I was like, yeah, I think this is the route I want to take. I did have a little detour at first though. When I graduated, this other opportunity kind of fell in my lap. To be a milieu therapist at a children's hospital in like the psychiatric ward. And I did that for a couple months. And so I was actually planning to not go to graduate school, not pursue school psychology, and just go straight into working, right? That didn't work out. I wasn't really ready to be a professional yet. And I did some things like I slept through a couple, partway through a couple of trainings. I was kind of a hot mess at that time.
Yeah.
Long story short, I got fired, and then, but there was still enough time, like grad school had not started yet. They
Oh,
still had a spot for me. And so
wow.
that's what I did. So I'm really happy for the timing and all that worked out.
Oh, that's so nice that that worked out because I actually just hopped on a call with my former alma mater, the University of Akron, to talk to them about. I get a lot of people who are
Yeah.
BCBAs that reach out and say, "Hey, I want to become a speech therapist now." And I'm like, "Oh dear, I don't know." Like I always talk about Akron U because they have a virtual program. So I was talking
Yeah.
to them, but their application window is tight and it's like, it's coming up. So I'm like,
I know.
I
I,
need
I
all
can't
the
believe
information.
I can't believe they're that flexible with me and that spot
Right.
is still open.
Wow.
I'm lucky. Yeah.
That is good timeline because yeah, it's like if you don't get in, I just remember as an undergrad
Right.
trying to get into speech therapy graduate school was like so hard. I graduated summa cum laude. They make you feel like if you don't have 4.0, you're never going to get into graduate school. And so I just was like crazy there. It's just like really, really competitive and
I
ugh.
was just kind of young and dumb and just going with the flow. And
Right.
I mean, I probably wasn't worried about it all as much as I should have been.
Yeah.
I just, I don't know, in my early 20s, I just did not feel like an adult or a professional.
Right.
And I still don't sometimes, but
Right.
I'm just glad it worked out. In hindsight, I look back, I'm like, wow, I can't believe that worked out. At the time, I don't think I thought about how, amazing it was that it worked out, but now I realize it was.
Right, right. Well, you think about that lapse. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
stressful. All that stuff is stressful. It's nice just to be certified. So, okay, love that. School psychologist. And so you came across I want to read your Instagram handle right. It's world's okayest school psych. Is that correct?
Yes, rolled okay is school psych. Yeah.
Yes, and I feel like you just share the funniest stuff because I'm a speech therapist in BCBA, but I do work 2 days a week clinically in my kids' own public school, which has been a nice kind of mom experience for me, giving back to the community a bit. And the world's shortest commute, I'll tell you what, 5 minutes, 7 if it's trafficy because we live in a small town. But social media is just, I've been doing it for the past 8 years. I think I've been on Instagram for 7 of those because the
Okay.
first year I was just going all in on Facebook, and then I looked over on Instagram and I was like, oh my gosh, this is all the people I really look up to in my niche, and they're all here. I was
Yeah.
the party, but
Yeah.
I'm over there now. So, but what made you want to get on social media? Like, tell me your
I
wanting.
kind of was bullied into it, honestly.
Okay.
Like I'm 44 and I was just happy with having a Facebook.
Right. Okay.
Um, and I was on a couple school psychology groups, and every now and then I would make memes and share them to the groups.
Yes.
They were well received, and I appreciated that and everything, but I really wasn't looking to do more with it. But I had this coworker and she was on TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff. And, she kept calling me like an old person, dork, or, whatever name endearingly, but not. But so finally I got on TikTok and I started doing some content on TikTok, but it was like more like geared toward the autism and my son and all that. And it was very small. I had like just under 1,000 followers, and I was just having fun with it. And then had made a personal Instagram, and just one day out of the blue, I just decided to make, I was like, if I'm making these memes and posting them on the school psych Facebook groups, I might
Right.
as well get credit for it. So I'm going to start my own like Instagram page.
Yeah.
And I just did that on a whim. Like I remember it was a Saturday before Thanksgiving,
Uh-huh.
and it was so random. And I just got on there. That was like November 2022. And
Oh,
it's
okay.
just kind of taken off from there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I really appreciate like the feedback and the people who follow me and the positive, kind words and stuff like that. So, it really gives me like the motivation to keep it going.
Right. Yeah. You get
So,
the followers. Yeah. And you have a good following. And I do think the stuff that you share is really relatable. So I guess that leads to my next question, because it seems for you, I guess social media is kind of, for me, sometimes is super negative because I'm
yeah.
a speech therapist and BCBA. Speech therapists and BCBAs traditionally have a hard time working together. And
Yes.
I've,
Well,
it's hard.
anyone in BCBAs have a hard time working together. And I say that lovingly, but BCBAs are so unique and they're so kind of just rigid and never, they're different,
Yes.
so
Right.
they're different breeds. So like, yes, so I have some clashes with BCBAs, but it's all fun and stuff like that. We keep it friendly, but yes.
Right. Yes. Yes. And and I have always worked in a public school, and I was
Uh,
also worked in non-public programs for autistic learners. But in public schools, I've been traumatized by working with lawyers and advocates. And
oh
I
yes,
put
yeah,
something on there 2 weeks ago,
definitely.
and it made everybody so mad. And my one friend
Uh,
at my former district, I was just like, hey, oh my gosh, we almost made it to June, whatever. And she was like, "Oh, I saw your video got so much traction." And I didn't even look at Facebook because honestly,
yeah.
I don't even look. It sometimes it'll post to Instagram and also post to my Facebook. I
Oh,
haven't
right,
even
right.
looked at Facebook, and it's got like 1,000 comments. And I was like,
No.
"Oh dear, I'm not even."
Yeah, Facebook is a whole nother animal. Like I keep my stuff off Facebook
Yes.
because when stuff go, people love to argue more on Facebook. They get
Oh,
more heated on Facebook.
yeah.
Instagram's a little bit more chill.
Oh, that's good.
I wouldn't quite call it chill, but it's more chill than Facebook. So Facebook, like, and yeah, for some reason, people just go off on there. So yeah, my Facebook is personal. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is what she meant. I was like, oh, I thought she meant on Instagram because it was just about like, it's the corporate bro. It's a guy. I remixed it. And he's like getting
Yeah.
a call. And it's like when you find out that, an advocate and a lawyer are going to be at your IEP meeting in an hour. Like you didn't know. It's a surprise.
I
Oh, people were
was
so
on Facebook.
upset.
I mean, on Insta. I think I might have seen that. That's not a big deal. That was such a like. It was funny, so lighthearted.
Right. It's supposed
I've
to be
made
funny.
so many memes and reels about advocates or lawyers and stuff like that. And really, I mean, sometimes I get feedback from them like, "Oh, this is funny." I have
Right.
advocates who follow me, and never
Right.
once have they said, "I'm offended by this." But again, I'm not on Facebook. Facebook is different, so you
So
know.
that's good. So your experience, so how has your experience on social media been? Has it been positive,
Yeah,
or do you
it's
ever get
it's
people?
mostly been positive. I mean, sometimes I will get, especially at the beginning, I think people feel more comfortable coming at you when your account is kind of new and not established. And I would get these angry DMs, and asking like, "Where do you work?" And and
Oh,
then
geez.
stuff like that. And then sometimes people are try to argue in the comments or say something
Yes.
negative, but really what I learned is just to protect my peace. Like if I have to, I'll just block the person and
Yes.
it's done, not a big deal.
Yes.
And then like I control my own space,
Right.
like it's not like it's different than a Facebook group. Like if someone posts a comment that can be provoking or something like that, or it's just too negative, I'll just delete it. Like,
Right.
I'm sorry you just wrote 3 paragraphs, but gone, like,
Right.
that's not the vibe here. And
Yeah.
some people
Right.
don't understand the humor. Like, this
Right.
is social media. I want to be like, what? I could respond like, is this your first day on Instagram? Or like, welcome to the internet? Like, you don't get it, like, so the
Right.
humor can be so complex, and I think some people like just don't get the humor. So, but
Right.
yeah, so I just don't waste any time on it. If it seems genuine, like someone, there's someone that has a concern or someone that it's a thoughtful comment, yeah, of course I'll respond to that and keep it up. But if it's just overly negative, I'm just like, nah, delete and move on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So
that's how I feel too. And I want to talk about your son and kind of your autism
yeah.
in a second. But I had somebody who was so appalled by this remix I made about reading an email and being upset that you're going to be in a meeting with an advocate and a lawyer.
I don't get that.
My son has ADHD. I don't talk about it
Yeah.
online and things like that. But I had this parent that was so offended by that particular Instagram reel. And then she was on my email list. She emailed me and was
Oh
like
no.
so offended, and she unsubscribed from my email
Of
newsletter.
course,
But I
right.
wanted to say, like, I have been on both sides of the IEP or 504.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
get it. I brought outside consult to the district that I work in with my
yeah.
son
Thanks. Same.
Yeah, just to be like,
Yeah.
to be adversarial, but to be like, this is my kid, this is what he needs. Do we have any questions here? Like that's who I am as a person. And so, but the content, like my whole business model is really to serve speech therapists, BCBAs, RBTs, and students. Like I
Yeah.
think parents are great, and I have some people that enjoy my content, but that what people just take it to the extreme. That's why I like you, because you try to be funny, and like sometimes I try to be funny. Like some things are traumatic in our work, but like I
Yeah.
try to make light of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to be somewhat brave. I mean, there are people that will send me like or respond to a story and then make a funny comment about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. Can I
Right,
share it? And they're like, yes, but don't show my name,
right, right.
So I think there are a lot of school psychs out there that are funny and witty and creative. I'm
Yeah,
just more brave than a lot of them,
right.
maybe more stupid. I don't know, but so I think that's my advantage is I'm just willing to put it out there,
Yeah,
and take that risk. And I've gone back and forth with things like my face on, my profile pic, and
right.
right now it's not on there. Like I had a verified account, but to have a verified account, you have to use your name and your face and all that.
Yeah.
So
I
it
do
just
that.
depends on like what kind of mood I'm in. Like as it gets closer to summer, my I might get a little bit more unhinged. So I took game off.
Oh yeah, get the popcorn,
So,
baby. Let's go.
yeah,
Make
yeah.
sure you follow that Instagram
Right.
handle. No, I love that. And then you recently shared, and that's funny how that, I'm joked, but I did put myself on a social media behavior plan because I spend way too much time, particularly on Instagram.
Yeah.
But I don't see all of, even if you follow somebody, you don't see every single video. But so, one of your videos recently cropped up where you share that you are raising an autistic child. So,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought it was a really nice, video that you
Yeah.
shared, reel or whatever it was. So can you just share a little bit about kind of your autism journey, I guess?
Yeah, and I mean, I was a school psych before I had a child with autism. But I kind of noticed I guess they call it red flags. I don't really like saying, but I kind of noticed the signs,
Yeah.
around like, especially two, maybe even a little before that. But I really just was like thinking, oh, there's a window for development. He's just on the later end of that window, or that time. So, and then actually my stepmom, she and my dad approached me basically, and
Oh,
my stepmom has a background, like she used to be an early childhood special education teacher. She
okay.
was even Texas State Teacher of the Year in like
Whoa,
1993, yeah, for the whole state.
that's
And
amazing.
so they noticed things right away, pretty quickly, and had to talk with me about it. And my wife and I, like we did not take it so well at that time, you know, but we did get him into speed. I kind of knew some, it's just really hard to accept, even if you're a school psychology. Like, I don't care who you are, you could be the world's number one expert. When it's your own child, it's
Yeah,
just all that expertise flies out the window. Like you need help, you need support, you need expertise, just like you're any other parent,
right.
and that's what. So if you, I just like if there are any school psych, speech paths, BCBAs, or anyone out there listening, and you have a child with special needs, like you're a parent, like when you wear that parent hat, you still need support. You know,
Yeah,
you you can consult and collaborate with your child's providers like you're any other parent.
right.
Like sometimes, and I'm kind of getting on a tangent or a little like rabbit trail here, a little off, but I kind of feel like sometimes I at first I would hesitate to tell providers or his therapist or anyone that I'm a school psychologist because they would just speak to me differently. Like, no,
Okay.
I want you to use the same detail, the same information.
Right.
I want you to talk to me like any other parent. But anyway, we got him in speech therapy. So early intervention, and
Yeah.
then I was kind of more accepting of it before my wife. I got there before my wife did, right?
Yes.
And but it took the speech therapist to say, I think we need to look at, like a behavioral evaluation, like more testing.
Yeah.
It's just funny because I'm a school psychologist. and you didn't take my word for it, but you take her, it's just,
Right.
but,
It's
so anyways,
complicated.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, he is hilarious though. It's just, he's just, he's, I would say has classic autism,
Yeah.
profound. But he's verbal. He's not
Yeah.
conversational.
Right.
But, he's able to get his wants and needs met. I mean, he can be very bossy, very adamant, very clear.
Right.
So, and he's in a life skills program at school,
Right.
which is actually, he started in a more like autism class, like a structured learning program.
Hmm.
Um, and he kind of graduated out of there and went up to life skills. So that's good. So he's with, still the children that other students have special needs, but a lot of them, it might be like an intellectual disability or something like that. And
Right.
so, as far as like peer models and communication, he's in a really good environment right now.
Oh, that's
But
nice.
yeah, so he's very stubborn. Like, I posted in my stories on Instagram on Friday that he won like the persistence award.
Yeah, I
And
like
the teacher said, I quote, "What he wants, he will get. We
that.
just have to find a way to give it to him."
Right.
And he has like special interests. He loves YouTube Kids, but he's an incredible artist, which is weird because I'm not.
Okay.
But he loves right now. It's whatever his special interest is. So, like a long time ago, it was the city of Fort Worth, which is where I'm live.
Oh, love Fort
And
Worth.
so he would draw like the Fort Worth skyline and stuff like that.
Huh?
But now it's YouTube Kids. So
Okay.
different YouTube Kids characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he hangs up all his drawings like on the wall of his classroom, and there's like four walls. It's like a
Yeah.
YouTube Kids mural. So so yeah, he's very loved, he's very spoiled, and I'm grateful for that. And there's a lot of challenges ahead. I mean, he's 14, and
Okay.
there's a lot of things I don't want to say I'm not looking forward to. I'm just nervous
Sure.
about, what that transition to adulthood is going to look like, and him being 18 and him being in the transition program at school, then him not being in school.
Right.
And because I like when he was first diagnosed, and we're planning the path forward, I was just a little bit more confident about it,
Right.
than my wife. My wife, though, on the other hand, like, she took that worry and anxiety and everything, and became a fierce advocate for him. And she's a better advocate for him than I am, and finding him like the best, treat therapies and stuff like that. But I just felt like, okay, I know what 3 to 18 or 3 to even 21 is going to look like for him. And I know how to help him through that process.
Right.
But adulthood, not so much. So yeah, with him being 14, I, it's in the back of my mind, but getting to the front of my mind, it's,
Right.
I eventually have to start thinking about guardianship paperwork and that
Oh, yeah.
process and all
Yeah.
that. So, but yeah, I mean, he's so much fun though.
Great. Yeah,
Like,
because at 14, did you have his IEP where I live in Ohio now, but I lived in Austin for 3 years. So, but is it the
okay.
universal law? Like at 14, we check that box.
Yeah. We they had to start talking about
Transition box.
transition, but
Yes.
it's really like, I'd say it's kind of almost like transition light, because he's still
Yes.
in middle school.
Yes.
So I think in high school we'll start getting way more serious about it. Not,
Yes.
I mean, our transition specials likes to say transition begins at diagnosis. You always have to start planning for that.
Good. Right. Right.
And I'll say this little nugget out there, like you do, like for him to be successful as he can be as an adult, the more
Right.
independent he is, the
Yes.
more like these different programs, like,
Mhm.
work programs or whatever,
Yep.
will accept him. Like, because for
Right.
some of them, you have to be toilet trained, you have to be able to do certain things on your own.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you want to get your child to be as independent as they can be. You're not forcing anything that's not possible, but
Right.
I want to know what his potential is and get him to that potential.
Yeah, that's nice. I worked at middle school, high school level for 10 years, and I really loved that age. And we would oftentimes, our students would stay until they were 22. That wasn't always the case,
Yeah,
obviously
right.
individualized, but we just had a really awesome kind of consortium that was like where the students would sophomore year they would go out half day for like this consortium of like in this facility like work setting, half day school, and then
Yeah,
junior, senior, beyond. Then they would start going out into the community, which I thought was really fun. I was a speech therapist, so I would just get to go to like
yeah,
different places like Old Navy, Bed Bath and Beyond when that was a store, and like see the kids
yeah,
working or a local hospital. And I just loved how functional that was. But I think it's good for you to share that about the independence and things like that because some people are so, like I believe in child-led directed therapy and things like that, but I think
yeah,
the focus on like how independent can your child be, how you want your child to be joyous. You said your child's funny and all those different
yeah.
things. You want them to have all those things, but you do want them to be independent in things across their day. So I think that's really powerful to share. So
Yeah, and it's just like having a little kid. Sometimes doing things for them is faster and it's easier.
right,
So I have to take the hard road and make him do more and more things on
right,
his own.
yeah.
But in the long run, he and I will both greatly benefit from that. So,
Yeah. And do you think that raising an autistic child has changed your viewpoint on your role as a school psychologist
oh,
or?
I mean, yeah, how can it not,
Right.
I mean, yeah, of course, and I feel like, um, it just allows you to have, I mean, I know what these parents are experiencing
Right.
firsthand. So I can I mean, we all have empathy and compassion, but I have it at like a different level too,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of times if it's just a conversation, like I stick to, reports and stuff, being professional, research-based strategies for recommendations and all that. But when we're having a conversation, I almost find myself talking to them like another parent, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So, and I don't always reveal I'm a parent, but sometimes I do. It just depends on the situation, because I want to
Mhm.
make it about them, not me. But
Right.
if I need to throw that to build that rapport and that trust, I will. So,
Yeah.
but
Well,
yeah, it's definitely changed how I'm a school psychologist. Like I can't help that. And plus I'm on both sides of the IEP table too. And
right.
so like one thing is just aside from his disability, my experience as a parent with him
Hmm.
is like there's times I go in the IEP room, the conference room, and everyone's already sitting there. They're all
Right.
set up. It can be
Right.
overwhelming. And if I'm
Yes.
overwhelmed as a
Yeah.
school psychologist and intimidated, I
Yeah.
can imagine how another parent feels, you know? And
Yeah.
so you want them to feel very comfortable, like right away and open and free to share and talk and just,
Right.
really bring them in and make them a part of that meeting.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you wonder why parents might want advocates because, you walk in there and everyone's sitting and they're all looking at you,
Right.
like 8 people, 10 people, and sometimes you want to feel like you have someone, in your corner too. Not that there's
Yeah.
us versus them, but I mean, that's just kind of where your mind goes sometimes.
And it does feel that way. Let me ask you, because after COVID, the district, our hometown district, I would say 99% of the meetings that I'm in are
Yeah.
are virtual. And somebody said, because I talk about IEPs a lot,
Yeah.
somebody said, if a virtual meeting takes away the us versus them mentality, because I know what you're saying, because I worked in a district,
Yeah.
you'd have 20 people in a very small pre-COVID, like sharing the same airspace. And you're right. It's like everybody's there and then their team comes in and it's like one side and one side. And virtual kind of takes away that aspect. You know what I mean? Like,
A
and
little bit. Yeah, it softens it a little bit.
softens it. Yeah.
At first, but then, like I've been in, the virtual meetings with an advocate and stuff. And once they get going, I feel like it might as well be in person. Like, like, but at first it does. But yeah, no, our school district, I would say probably like 60-40, like 60%
Oh,
Zoom, 40
Okay.
in person. They
Yeah.
definitely, like, a lot of the elementary campuses prefer in person.
Yeah.
Like, kind of in person is the default now.
Oh,
But
wow.
parents, it's really up to the parents and what they want to do. So if
Right.
they want virtual, we'll do virtual. But like but at secondary, I would say probably it's still more virtual.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then my meetings for him, since COVID have been probably again 60-40. Like I've had some in-person meetings, but we've done some virtually too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It depends
Yeah.
on my mood, like,
Right. 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 Yeah.
like,
What point what you're talking about, what you want to
yeah,
about.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes you got to be in person. It's just, yeah, it makes a statement. I feel like, yeah, no, I've
it,
been there.
it does, yeah.
Yeah.
So like probably, whenever he goes, when he started middle school, I started out with in person and now they're virtual. And so I'll probably do the same thing when he goes to high school,
Yeah.
do the first couple in person. I say the first couple because we usually have more than one ARD meeting for him. Oh, ARD meetings, by the way, in Texas. It's
Yes.
AP meetings, but in Texas we have our own lingo.
Yes.
Admission review dismissal. But I'll go back to the universal lingo, IEP meetings. We usually
Yeah.
have, the annual, but then there's a couple, one or two revisions a year for whatever reason. So
Right. Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Somebody emailed me today from my email list and they said ARD. And
yeah,
I was like, I used to live in Austin. I
yeah,
live in
yeah. So
Texas.
yeah. Texas, man, they do everything different.
I know, but it's got a lot of
Everything.
pride down there. I lived there for 3 years and it was cool. But oh well, wow, this was really amazing to be able to talk with you.
Sorry, the lights just on. They have
Oh,
this automatic light,
that's okay.
but there you go. Okay.
There we go. It was amazing to talk with you, and this is just so cool to hear about your social media journey, to hear about your son. He sounds amazing, and just what a great thing you're doing being a school psychologist. I think you're the might have been one of the first school psychologists in over 200 episodes that we've had on the show. So,
Yes, I'm
um,
honored. That's
yes,
great. Thank
yes,
you.
thank you so much, and make sure we'll put your Instagram handle in the show notes. And it was really delightful to meet you.
Okay, yes, it's good to meet you too.